Okay, so Amber's turning 50 soon. We've been talking about aging and yoga. What the intersection is between yoga philosophy and aging. Now you just had a thought you wanted to share.
Yeah.
We're munching too.
And this is really good. Asa makes with seitan. That's like amazing. Well, I was just talking about this idea of Shraddha, which is faith, and we all have faith in something. Even if we think, well, I'm not a spiritual person, well, then we have faith that we are only a body. Like there's always a belief system underlying our thoughts and our actions. And in yoga, we're trying to make it more sattvic, which would ultimately mean we also are believing more and more that our body is just a temporary experience and we are more than that, right? But if we are constantly doing things that just reiterate to ourselves that we are only the body, then we are reiterating those more painful belief systems, or ones that lead to more pain, because if you believe you are only the body, then you are on this constant quest for youth and beauty and whatever the physical thing is, right? So if that's what your whole quest is, you know that you don't have a sattvic. You may want that sattvic belief system, but you don't quite have it yet, which is most of us, right? I mean, I'm certainly not there. I have my moments, but then if you partake in those things, such as, like we were talking about, cosmetic surgery to make yourself look more youthful and things like that, it will bring a temporary relief from the pain of loss of youth, but it doesn't bring that true vairagya, that true non-attachment to it, because you're still, then it's the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and it's
yeah, now that I have this, does she really love me for that, or do I need to focus on the next thing that I'm lacking to go correct, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's, I think in our culture it's so hard not to, because we're just inundated with really, really fit, really, really beautiful, really, really young people.
Everywhere.
Who are also modifying the way they look on top of it, right? And, in the old days, if you just lived in the village before any kind of media, really, other than like sculptures and paintings,
yeah, it'd be like
you might
10%
have had
or less.
The one good-looking person in the village,
yeah,
who was, and everyone, and so you wouldn't have had that as like, this is normal. Plus,
well,
you wouldn't have had
that's why wars were fought, like Troy.
Constantly telling you you're not enough. It's not constantly coming in through the senses.
Yeah, a comparison model for yourself.
Right, and that's why the pratyahara is so important. The withdrawal of the senses. You have to, if you're just looking at these, like even Guess just recently had AI models. Did you hear about that?
No.
They're the first big brand to use AI models, and so the models are like, well, now we're not even good enough. And like, what's this going to do for beauty standards? And so it's like, if we don't really take control of that in our own lives, we're screwed, I think.
So that's how not to age, in terms of like,
it's hard though,
staving it off and like fighting, and it's a fine line between this idea of, because sometimes the aesthetic does cross over into self-care, and that might make you live a longer, healthier life, and each person has to choose that for themselves. But one of the things I was thinking about is, growing up, all of my role models were like Hulk Hogan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Lee, which were men embodying like a hyper-realized version of a certain type of masculinity that had to do with being a warrior, being a badass, being, in many cases, sweaty, tanned, hairless, half-naked, wild, coked out and roided out, and that was like, and my little boy brain was like, that was the archetype. It's like, okay, I'm gonna grow up to be like that. And so now that we're kind of, in terms of this conversation we're having today, as we age and as we're yogis, and thinking about, okay, aging gracefully is about letting go of grasping for youth. Oh my God. And so then what is the archetype? What is the archetype, and what are the values and virtues of healthy aging that we can aspire and ascribe to? And that was when you said earlier, you were talking about wisdom. And that seems like in some ways, like such a, like you look at like the media and it's like Gandalf. Like what was Gandalf's real like meal ticket in the tribe, so to speak? It was him being wise, but yet I think it's not wisdom is...
It's also magic.
Well, magic.
But
it's not that wisdom is unsexy. It's that wisdom is just naturally not valued in our society. And so even though we don't have a lot of modern day archetypal examples of aging gracefully and well in the realm of wisdom, you said something earlier about how we can still bridge the gap. And it doesn't have to be specific examples always. It can be like you were talking about.
Oh, like when we, like the Pratipaksha Bhavana thing,
Yeah.
like we, so Austin and I sit around and talk like this, and then we're like, oh, we should record it. And then I don't remember what we've said. But basically, like, too, with Pratipaksha Bhavana, because it's so hard. I mean, we are fighting, if you want to age in a way where you are practicing this vairagya, this letting go, and it's hard, and acceptance of things. Part of it is Pratipaksha Bhavana, right, which is putting the opposite in its place. But you don't have to think of the opposite as like a parallel direct opposite. So if you're sitting there going...
Hey, hold this for a second.
We have all the dogs here, and there's
A leaf.
competition
They're
over a
fighting
leaf.
over a leaf.
Here, look, there's
the
two.
leaf in question. Here, you want that? Go get it. Ladybug, do you want that? It doesn't have to be direct parallel.
It doesn't. So, okay, so say something that, like, okay, if you are feeling bad about the way your whatever looks, and so say maybe the thought is like, oh, I have, like name a body part. I don't know that.
My calves are too small.
My calves are too small. You don't have to then Pratipaksha Bhavana it by going, oh, my calves are perfect and I love my calves.
Yes.
You just need to reach up for any more expansive or elevated emotional state. It doesn't even have to be about your calves. The whole thing is get yourself, because the mind can only focus on one thing at a time, right? So you can sit there and you can just think about your calves, whether good or bad, or you could just elevate your state and feel joy and gratitude, whether it has to do with your calves or not, and that's still going to bring you out of that. It's going to get your mind out of that habit of just
spiraling.
If you're
spiraling with it.
Of being like, oh, my calves suck, and
'Cause
so and so's calves.
You may not be able to ultimately feel ever really good about your calves, but if you can feel so good about everything around your calves, if there's enough there built into it, eventually there will be a loving acceptance to the calves.
Well, yeah, it's like the calves. If everything else is so amazing, it's like this canvas and the calves are this much of it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get myopic and all you think about is the calves, suddenly you zoom in and it's calves, calves, calves. And then you get the calf surgery or whatever the thing is, and then that becomes satisfied, but then it becomes this thing. And we're just reiterating to ourselves, which our whole society does, is that I'm only the body, it's only a material world, there's nothing more. And that's really not, in yoga we want to
learn how to let go of that.
Learn how to believe in more too, to really have faith in it, and that's hard.
Well, yeah, because we have been told the opposite our whole life, which is if you are enjoying what is, even materially, you are missing out, right? Like that's what all those messages from all those like heroes of my childhood were essentially the bottom line of what kind of the messaging I was getting was, there's a little monarch butterfly.
Pretty butterfly.
You're missing out, right? Somehow, some way, and it's so subtle that you don't know that that's what it's actually teaching you is not enoughness. It's teaching you not enoughness, which, of course, if your conditioned mind is thinking, I'm not enough or it's not enough, you can't, number one, accept what it is, let alone be content with what is. So even acceptance is impossible. So aside from calf transplants or whatever it is, as you turn 50 now, So what is
Is
your...
this what this is turned into?
This
huh?
is what you're... We circle back to the whole purpose of this
Okay.
conversation. As you age and you turn to this milestone, what advice or how are you taking it in terms of how are you using the yoga to accept it, be content with it, and embrace it and welcome it?
Good question. Well, I mean, one thing that just happens with age is perspective, and I can look back and say that every 5 years I can look back and say, oh, I wouldn't want to be back to that previous 5 years. Like I'm in a better place now. And it always goes back to because of what I'm doing with yoga and the work I'm doing on it has created that environment for personal growth to where I can be happier than I was 5 years ago or 10 years ago and before that. And so that helps too, because even though I see things in the mirror clearly happening, or in the way my clothes fit, or in what my body is doing, and all of this, and it's not that I am thrilled when I see, especially if my phone's on the wrong, when it's on like selfie mode and I turn on the camera and I'm like this, and like it's like shocking and all the gray hair and stuff, but you get that. I think the perspective is like I wasn't happier when I was wrinkle free. In fact, I was deeply unhappy at that point. At my best looking moments in life, I was actually my most unhealthiest on every level. So I think a lot of it is self-talk and self-reminding, but also bringing myself to those places of like, even when I'm not in a moment of experiencing something that would normally give me joy or gratitude, practicing joy and gratitude as if it's here now. It's been a big thing.
I love that. I think for me in that, this conversation really like helps me in terms of like even that picture you sent to me the other day, and I was like, I joked, I said, I look like old Jack Nicholson, and I was just like, when he's frozen and in The Shining.
And what I said was, oh, you mean old young Jack Nicholson?
Yeah, right.
Because I was like, you mean old Jack Nicholson? What are you talking about?
But this does help frame that, like, the want to hold on to youth and the want to hold on to all those things. What is the vein of youth? What is the glory of youth is ultimately not worth the peace and contentment that comes with accepting who you are. Because there is something inherent about always wanting, in youth, that you will finally blossom into the thing you were always, like, I remember Charles in Charge. They always did the thing where they would like take the glasses off the girl and like pull her ponytail out, and she'd just be like, beautiful. Yes. And like, I think there's always this kind of weird, strange fantasy that like that's what youth will do to us. It's just a matter of time before we blossom into our like exalted version of ourselves, and yet it's got to fit this version of what beauty is, and that's so limiting. And what is the purpose of beauty? It's to create awe, wonder, and ultimately a loving state. And so it doesn't have to be anybody else's idea of beauty to love that.
And that's again what you're saying comes back to this yoga and the art of personal responsibility, because nothing outside of you can make you feel good about aging or okay about it. And that includes things you can do to your body. I mean, like I said, you could get temporary relief and have moments where you're satisfied with it, but then in 5 years, whatever. But also like that, it's hard work and it's constant work. You can't get lazy about it. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the double-edged sword of aging, is nobody tells you how hard it feels. Like if you'd stop taking care of yourself, you can't drink alcohol the way you used to do. You can't stay up late at night. And yet society is also telling you, oh, that not enoughness you were feeling even when you were young and had it all, even though youth is wasted on the young, now you have even less of that. No. And you're feeling it. So it's reinforcing kind of all the ways in which the belief system around aging and the lack of appreciation of wisdom is devalued.
But also, and you make me think of something with that. I have a lot of like friends from high school or things like that. And they'll be like, it's just part of getting old and this and that. And I'm like, I refuse to say that. Like, I also think, I mean, we know in yoga, like our thoughts become our bodies. I mean, that's the Samkhya model, is this crystallization of vibration, right? And so it doesn't mean I won't age or things like that, but I certainly don't want to add to it by being like, by having a belief that, oh, my back will go out because I'm old.
Yes.
My knees will go out because I'm old.
Somebody's got your shoe.
Oh, she's always getting those shoes.
Well, yeah, and I think it's cool. One of the things that got us started talking about this conversation is Pamela Anderson and how she kind of is having a phoenix rising moment of like not wearing makeup in public and taking back her power after being objectified, and the way that she bought into it even herself, and now she's kind of reclaiming her sense of self-worth as an aging woman, and it's getting celebrated in a world that is still very concentrically focused on, okay, that's fine for her, but also the rest of you don't age. Whatever you do, don't you do it.
She's pretty enough to get away with it.
Yeah, right. Well, she's got a story that we can all feel. We have enough empathy
I do love her.
to get over the fact that she's not as pretty as she was, or whatever it is. But I think it's a good conversation to have as you turn 50, to feel. I'm glad you feel good about turning 50.
Thank you.
And I think that it's such an awesome opportunity as you become wiser to just continue to role model how the value of wisdom has a much more solid foundation than the value of just being beautiful, right? Because that, I mean, aesthetically, like I think wisdom is beautiful, but I think, a flower is constantly changing from bud to bloom to wilting and dropping off, and wisdom is perennial. And if we don't ultimately mature into the full knowledge of like accepting that, it is a weird thing to try to stay forever young, in a way. Like, now, not saying don't take care of yourself and all this and that. Like, I want the quality of my life and my joy span to be as maximal and optimized as possible for my whole life, but that's different than, what we're talking about.
Well, and also, of course, it's going to be hard. And that's, too, whatever choices people have made or this or that, it's all for each of us to make. And these are just thoughts to kind of run through your own filters and come to your own conclusions with, because what's right for me isn't going to be right for someone else necessarily, and that's okay. But we can all look at the teachings, I think, in yoga and get something from them, and that these are the big concepts, and that ultimately the biggest and hardest lesson is non-attachment, and it's probably to our own lives and how youth represent. As we age, we're getting closer to death, too, and that's just. That's
cold hard facts, kids. Cold hard facts. So do you have a birthday wish for 50?
I have so many. I have a traffic jam in my brain right now. But mostly just, I mean, I don't know. I just want my loved ones and my doggies and my studio and my community and I don't know.
To thrive.
I just want, I have lots of wishes. I don't know if I have one. Or a goal for 50. I don't really have anything like that.
Well, if you want to wish Amber a 50th birthday, do it in the comments. Like, subscribe, follow, share. Thanks for listening to our gift. Thanks for listening to our
Thank you.
backyard ramblings with the dogs. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.